Alright guys, so here is the first draft of the mobile studio that I'm going to be working from. It's a little bit messy, but we'll take care of that once I make sure everything works. So in this room, you'll see that everything is a hard reflective surface, and it's kind of a square room, which means that the reflections of sound are going to kind of all congregate towards a more symmetrical center of the room, which is not ideal for recording, which makes it the perfect place to test this out and make sure that the studio setup really works. We have a vent up here, but I can't remember if it was on when I was recording just a second ago, but let me show you around and let you see how everything is set up. So I have my laptop right here with my connections. None of these cables are particularly long, so I want to keep that in mind when I'm thinking about how I'm going to be setting up in different spaces. I'll probably just need to get longer cables. We also have 2 Pips panels from Acoustics and a leftover theater curtain that I had used for my last mobile build. Now coming in, I want to make sure that the top is more secure. I don't want to have to take this wooden dowel with me, but I'll kind of figure out this whole situation. Another consideration is I have this big opening, I think I mentioned just a second ago, and I'll probably need to do something about that. And then obviously the entrance that I just came in through is just the theater curtain. So I want to make sure that I'm facing a direction that mitigates that as much as possible. I think this is the best direction to speak in, a little bit, catty corner like this with the large opening to my back. I'm using the Zopa monitor that's all over TikTok right now. It works pretty well. The only thing that nobody ever mentioned was you might need a secondary power source. For some reason, my laptop isn't enough power to get this going, so I had to wing it, and luckily I had another cable to power this. I have my interface, which is connected to the laptop, and I have my headset coming from the interface. I'm going to use a nice quality pair of headphones. These are AKG headphones because I'm not going to, I don't know if this even has a speaker on it, but I'm not going to trust this or my laptop speaker, and I'm not bringing speakers with me. So this is my best option. And then I have my microphone with a cable that leads to the interface. Then down here, I have a mouse, and I was going to try and use this, but I forgot to put batteries in it. I'm going to need to get a much smaller keyboard that really just gives me the bare basics of what I need and also gives me enough room for a mouse. So I'm going to have to figure out how I want this setup to look. Maybe I'll get another attachment for the stand. And then, of course, everything is attached to this big rolling stand that I got off of Amazon. And then this is just my phone mount. The only other things that I want to do with this space are get maybe some little twinkle lights. And there's, another list of things to consider, like, things to convert. Ooh, looking a little rough. The only other things to consider are the conversion ports whenever I go to Europe. Not only do I obviously need a different type of plug converter, but a surge protector as well, because I think their voltage is different, and you just want to make sure that all of your equipment is safe just in case something wonky happens with that. So I'm going to send this file over to Lenny and see what he says, and then I'm also going to fold this stuff up and see how it fits in the baggage that I got already and how much everything weighs. Okay, so here is the first test. We are inside the mobile studio. There's a couple things that I know I'm going to want to take care of before we leave, just so I make sure everything's as perfect as possible. One is there is this gap going from the top to the bottom of the panel, and that is where all of the, that's where the stand is and all of my equipment is coming through. So I'm probably going to, I could always bring my other curtain that I have currently set up in my studio. That's a little bit of a pain, but it, would be nice to have a curtain on this end and at the entrance end, and that would probably be the easiest fix. Or if I just put like a piece of foam, that would probably also mitigate a lot of that as well. The other point that I want to point out is right here. This is where the curtain currently is. Whenever I raise my voice or I'm slightly turned outward, I can hear the reflection in the room. I'm also just very sensitive to reflections in general because that's what I'm constantly listening for, and I've gotten used to that. But let's see how it sounds on the recording and what Lenny can kind of help us do with the preset once I send this to him in a raw file. I do also want to make sure that my raw files sound as perfect as possible because I have a client that has a high volume of work that I'll be doing while I'm there, and I send everything in a raw file to them as well. Okay, so let's try this. You know, that doesn't sound quite as bad as I thought it would. Obviously, if I had... it's a little tricky because I have all of my... With licensing and things like that, I can't just easily move one license that I use for presets, like the waves licensing that I have for certain functions in the preset. I can't just move it from one computer to the next too easily. So part of this is kind of like a blind... Yeah, I can't really... Visit store page, update. Yeah, so that would be a little bit difficult. But maybe if I do a little amplitude compression and see how things are coming out. Oh, I don't have access to my keyboard. There we go. All right, so I sent this file on over to Lenny, and his response was very quick and awesome. He said that it was one of the best raw recordings that he's received and that he's heard, which is awesome and very encouraging. And he went ahead and made a preset for this specific studio space. And typically he'll make a preset for each studio space that you're in, but because it's all enclosed, then I only need the one preset for this specific space, and it should be consistent no matter where I am. I've also picked up a new hobby. I've never done throwing clay before, but I have always loved to play with clay and make little sculptures and things. So my husband and I were down at the clay shop here in Austin, and it's an amazing wholesale clay shop, and they had a good price on a pottery wheel. So we just kind of got one, and I'm trying to teach myself how to do it. TikTok has been super helpful, but if you guys have any advice on how to get an actual vase or any kind of shape that I can play around with and practice on, I am all ears. And I've been continuing work on the breathing series with you guys. Everyone's been very awesome and responsive, and it seems like people enjoy the breath work, which is great because it's a very important aspect of my self-care, and I love to share that part of myself. So I went ahead and I made a video on proper breath support and how to fully engage your breath and the muscles that are best to use when breathing. So maybe that'll help you guys. It's definitely very helpful for voice work as well. Now into a workshop that I signed up for with a Disney casting director to see if there was anything new to learn. Really, the only takeaway was the note of if you're auditioning for TV animation, you want to keep the pace very fast. Now, this suitcase, we are packing for Rome, and I wanted to make sure that I got a suitcase that was going to really protect all of my equipment, because the last thing that I want to do is be dealing with trying to buy technology in Europe when they have different plugins and they also use different levels of voltage. I didn't want to mess with any of that, so I need to make sure everything is protected on the trip. And I also saw that it's very easy for someone to stick a pen in the zipper of a suitcase, open it up, and it's like you would never know that they opened up your suitcase and stole a bunch of stuff out. So I invested a little bit more in this suitcase where there is no zipper. It's like more of a chest kind of close and nothing can stick in there. So only TSA can open it up, which TSA doesn't have the greatest track record, but most crime is opportunistic and I just don't want to be an easy target. So here's a test pack. I don't have everything in here that I'm going to need because I'm still recording daily, and at the very last moment is when I'm going to pack the rest of the stuff, but I need to make sure that everything's going to weigh the proper amount and everything's going to fit. We have my laptop, my microphone, and this is just the case, a new trackball mouse, lights, miniature keyboard, USB plug, interface, computer battery, microphone arm. I need to break down the whole stand that you guys saw into as small components as possible to make sure that everything fits. And this one is awesome. The wheels also come off. These are all of the little components that are on the stand. And now on to the panels. I want to make sure that none of the structure of these panels break. So I put these protectors that came with the panels when they shipped, and they did a pretty good job. These duffel bags I got on Amazon, they're quite a bit too large for the panels themselves, but they were the best option I could find. There really isn't a great option for these panels anywhere on the market. And if I were to order like a plastic case, which I did hours and hours of research, I couldn't find anything that really fit the dimensions that I needed, and it was going to be 3 times the cost of one panel just to get the case. So I thought I would try out this duffel bag technique and then just do a tight wrap on it to make it a little firmer. So American Airlines, when going from the US to Europe, they have a weight limit of 70 pounds. And after that, you're going to pay a fee for it being overweight all the way up to 100. If you have anything over 100 pounds, they will not let you fly with it. So this is right there on the line, and I'm going to have to see if I can get it any lighter. I ordered a kind of a capsule wardrobe for Europe to have more of that linen, Roman, European look whenever we go. And my plan is to fit all of my clothes into my carry-on because I'm traveling with so much luggage. I want to minimize the amount of money that I have to spend in extra bags. So all of my clothes will go into a carry-on. Anything that I need on the plane will be in a carry-on or in the personal bag that they let you take. Then we'll have 1 full suitcase with all of my equipment, 2 panels, and 1 extra suitcase for anything extra that my husband has along with his carry-on, and then to leave some space for souvenirs. We're also taking a giant air mattress because my parents are going to come visit, and we didn't get an Airbnb large enough because I didn't know that they were going to come until after I had booked it. So we're flying over with a giant air mattress as well. And this I'm super excited about. I have a Nintendo Switch that I'm obsessed with. I never thought that I would really be into Nintendo Switches or video games, but I really enjoy it. And I got the Azorpa monitor that I'm going to use with my mobile studio. So I downloaded a co-op game, and I'm bringing the Azorpa onto the plane in my carry-on so then my husband and I can play a co-op game while we sit next to each other. And I'm also able to plug the Azorpa into one of those mobile like little battery packs that you can buy, and it will power the Azorpa but also charge my Switch at the same time through that one port, which is awesome. Another thing that I've been working on leading up to Rome is an audio tour. I've always had this dream of working on audio tours. I did one for the city of Boston years ago, and it was so much fun. I love to learn, and I love history, and I love to travel, so this is like an accumulation of all of that and then mixed with voiceover. So I thought it would be cool to make a walking tour for me and my husband when we're there to try it out and see how everything comes together, figure out what my process might be, see how easy or difficult it is to create an audio tour before we even go to a place, which is a little crazy, I guess, on my part. But it's been a lot of fun so far. The way that I approached it was, do all my research for the history. There's a common walking tour that you can do in Rome where you go to the Spanish Steps, the Trevi Fountain, the Pantheon. So I worked on a script. My sister and I recorded it together, and she helped give me some direction. And we also did some sound effects and music to make it a more immersive storytelling experience. Most audio tours or tours in general that you do can easily turn into data dumps, and what I wanted to do is create more of a feeling and feelings that you're chasing after whenever you travel, and to find more of a storyline within the different spots along this. So hopefully it turns out nicely, and I'm excited to give it a test run. And that's about it. The next time I see you guys, I will be in Rome. So I'm excited to continue this journey.